Professor Ravindra Gettu, who is the, as you know, the current president of the Rilem and the V.S. Raju Chair and the professor at IIT Madras. He's going to talk to us on will concrete continue to be a sustainable material in the future.
Thank you, Bashir. It's a pleasure to wind up this workshop and talk to you about a question that that can always come up. About 10 years back, a few experts, and I was there as one of them, and we were asked whether concrete would continue to be the most popular construction material in 10 years and in 20 years and 30 years and so on. So that was 10 years back. We had a lot of discussions, and at the end of the day, we concluded that in 2020 for sure, and very probably in 2050, concrete will continue to exist. It will be different, but it will exist because we don't have any other material in sight that can take over. So the question that we ask today is again, not whether concrete will exist, but will concrete continue to be sustainable? So the co-author of this presentation is Anusha, who is doing a PhD with us at IIT Madras. So again, the question we ask is, will concrete continue to be sustainable in the future? So there is an implicit understanding then that concrete is now sustainable. So that is also something that you will have to see if I can convince you during this presentation. Now, why do we worry about cement and concrete? Cement contributes about 7% to the global emissions. So if we are going to use cement, it is possible that it could continue to have a major impact on the environment. We are going to use a lot of cement. It is, as I said before, cement is not going to go away. Concrete is not going to go away. These are some predictions of what could happen over the next few decades. And we find that these predictions show that by 2050, the amount of cement produced in the world could be between 4,000 to 5,000 million tons. So this means that whenever we can use less cement, if we can make cement more sustainable, we are going to do ourselves and the planet Earth a big favor. Why is this relevant to us? I will focus on India. I will show examples of India. This can be extrapolated to all developing countries for sure. India is the second largest producer of cement in the world, though it is also one of the most energy efficient. Now, in this scenario, what can get worse? Can we continue to have cement as sustainable or as eco-friendly as it can be? So here below, you see some charts. In the inset is the monthly production of cement over the past 4 or 5 years, and you can see it progressively increasing. The green plots at the lower part of the screen show again the demand in India alone of cement, and it is projected to be between 800 to 1,500 million tons per year. So for sure, we are going to use a lot of cement. The fact that we are producing so much of cement means that we are also using a lot of concrete, estimated at 1,000 to 2,000 million tons per year. And this could reach about 5,000 million tons. Why? Because we have to build a lot. Just like India, there could be many other countries in the world which need to build a lot. We need to provide housing. In India, it is expected that we would need 15 to 30 million units, 10 billion square feet. Our highway network is expected to go within this decade double what it is, from about 110,000 kilometers to 200,000 kilometers. So this means that we are going to use a lot of concrete. For this, we need a lot of cement. So what do we think about the sustainability? Concrete, I believe, is sustainable for several reasons. It provides jobs in the construction sector, especially for unskilled workers. Of all the materials we have, concrete has lower embodied carbon footprint. It requires less energy than many other materials which are out there. Raw materials are reasonably abundant in the world today. We have enough limestone, we have other materials that we can use for making cement and concrete. Construction with concrete provides for strength, safety, and healthy living conditions. We have seen in many of the lectures that concrete came up again and again. We talk about rehabilitation, we talk about resilience, and concrete is always there. But things are always not great. Quality is something that is not always ensured. When we are talking about a material like concrete, which can be made anywhere, we are not sure about the quality. Durability is not designed for nor guaranteed. We heard a lot about durability in this session from Professor Bashir and others earlier. Durability is something that is very important. We don't give it a lot of attention. We need to, certainly. And there are many things which are not great about cement and concrete. CO2 emissions are high, like I mentioned earlier. Energy requirement is high. There is only a linear economy as far as raw materials are concerned. We don't put back demolished concrete. We don't extract anything from concrete and put it back. It is a linear economy versus a circular economy, which should be there. And a big problem is the water. Water is something that is essential for concrete. Concrete competes with people for drinking water. And this is something that is grave in many cases, and it is expected to become worse in the future. So for considering all this, what will happen in the future? We expect changes. Fuels could change. We don't know if we will have all the fossil fuels, what restrictions will be there, and can we utilize alternative fuels. What will happen to the consumption of electricity? Will there be enough electricity for cement? What will happen to the carbon footprint of electricity? We have seen that we incorporate a lot of supplementary cementitious materials. We reduce the amount of clinker in the cement. Will that continue? Aggregates are a big problem in many of our regions. What will happen if aggregates are not there? Will we continue to make sustainable cement and concrete in the future? So the question is, will the sustainability of concrete be affected? In what way and how much? So when we talk about sustainability, we have to think about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. These are given here. In the top row, we talk about the basic fundamental needs of people: poverty, hunger, health problems, lack of education, lack of gender equality, and clean water and sanitation. In the second row are what we need to survive as a community: affordable and clean energy, work, industry, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production. And at the bottom, we talk about more holistic goals, such as climate action, water, land, peace, justice, and partnership. So we won't be able to take care of all this in this discussion. I will focus mainly on the carbon footprint that can affect climate change and energy. Energy also means that cost is affected. If you use more energy, we are also talking about more expensive production and more expensive fabrication. So our sustainability assessment for now in this talk will consider two impacts: the carbon dioxide emissions or the carbon footprint, the embodied energy or the energy that is required to make cement and concrete. How are we going to go about this? We use the technique of life cycle assessment, which defines the system, which draws the boundaries of what we are going to use for the calculations. Here we consider the gate-to-gate system. So the gate-to-gate system is what occurs within the plant, within the control of the cement fabricator or the concrete fabricator. Okay, so we leave out certain aspects where we do not have reliable data. We can also do that, but in this presentation, I'm going to talk about the system which is gate to gate. That is, whatever comes in and whatever goes out. That is what is being considered. We get data from plants directly. So in a country like India, we do not have a ready-made inventory. So we had to get data from plants, cement plants, aggregate plants, and concrete plants. We convert these data, the inventory data, to the impacts. Then here what I'm going to do is compare with some baseline data. I'm going to look at how things are today and discuss with you what could happen in future. What will happen when fuel usage evolves, changes, electricity changes? The types of cement, will they change? Should they change? Can they change? What if we run out of natural aggregates and have to use recycled aggregates? Is it going to make it better or worse? So these are some of the aspects that I'll talk to you in the remaining 10 minutes. We consider two cement plants, an older one established in 1975 in Nimbahera in Chittorgarh, Rajasthan, with a capacity of 3.6 million tons of cement per annum. They use about 120 kg cement of fuel per ton of clinker. They make ordinary Portland cement, OPC, and Portland pozzolana cement with fly ash. They have a captive thermal plant. They do not draw electricity from the grid, but generate their own electricity. On the other hand, we have a more modern plant in Nandyal in Andhra Pradesh, established in 2011, also a 6-stage preheater plant with precalciner. An integrated plant means that they make the clinker, grind it, and produce cement. They have OPC, slag cement, and also they sell slag or produce slag. Fuel use, slightly more efficient, 100 kg per ton of clinker. And they take electricity from the grid. So when I talk about concrete, I'm going to assume that we are using cement from the Nandyal plant. But I'll use both as examples to see how things will improve and how things can change. Now, this is the system that we have to consider. It's a very, very busy diagram. And you can see here all the different things that happen in cement production. So on the left top, we have the production of the clinker. We have limestone coming in, other raw materials. We need fuel, coal and pet coke in this case. There are alternative fuels. Lot of things are burnt along with coal in the kiln. So all this comes in and we have clinker done. So in the middle right, you have the clinker being produced. So all these quantities have to be taken into account to ensure that we are calculating the impact of the clinker well. To the clinker, we add gypsum and then it is ground to give us cement. So you see in the middle bottom, we are getting the values of ordinary Portland cement. To the clinker, when we add slag, GGBS, ground granulated blast furnace slag, which has to come from somewhere. So that brings some impact into the picture. This gives us together the Portland slag cement. So all these numbers and arrows tell us the distances that the material has to travel. So you see these dashed lines which are telling us all the kilometers which have to be taken into account. All these numbers tell us the electricity that went in to the fabrication, the amount of material that has gone in. So we should convert all these kilograms of materials to impacts. So this has to be the picture when we talk about the environmental impact of cement production. Now let's see what happens if you do the calculations. In the case of the Nimbahera plant, we see this is the carbon, these are the carbon emissions. 950 kilograms of carbon dioxide is emitted for a ton of clinker. Most of it is coming from the limestone, that is the gray part, and the burning of the fossil fuels, that is the shaded orange part. Together we have an effect of electricity. The Nandyal plant is slightly more effective in reducing the carbon footprint, 850 kg of CO2 per ton of clinker. Okay. So in cement production, we use a lot of fuels other than coal or petcoke. These are called alternative fuels, and you see them all listed here. We expect that this will continue to increase. SEM Bureau in Europe has targeted for 2050 24% biomass, 36% other alternative fuels. So what can we expect for a country like ours? In this plant in Nimbahera, 2% alternative fuels are used. Suppose we increase it to 10%, 30%, and 60% as SEM Bureau. What we find is, though we save a lot of coal, we are going to increase the carbon dioxide emissions because these alternative fuels are not as efficient as coal. Similarly, in the plant at Nandyal, we find that as we increase the amount of alternative fuels, things are going to get slightly worse in terms of CO2 emissions. However, we will have saved a lot of coal. So a lot of coal is saved if you switch from coal to alternative fuels. So the consequences clearly are, there is significant savings in coal. There is a lot of consumption of waste which otherwise would be dumped, but at the expense of a slight increase in CO2 emissions. Okay, so this is something that we have to keep in mind. What will happen to electricity? If the electricity is going to become cleaner, the carbon footprint is going to decrease. And in India, this seems to be the trend. We are having less and less carbon footprint of our electricity. Embodied energy is going down, and we find that this is because the percentage coming from non-fossil fuels is increasing. We are getting more electricity from non-fossil fuels. So this means that we would expect electricity to have a lower environmental impact. The resource use is better. However, coal will continue to be the main source, and we expect that imports will continue to increase. So what does this mean? Suppose a plant like Nimbahera, which had its own captive thermal power plant, switches to electricity, we would save a lot of coal. And overall, the carbon emissions would decrease and the energy would decrease because it is more efficient to use electricity from the grid rather than electricity made at the cement plant. So if we have to speculate for the future, we would expect that electricity for cement production would be more sustainable if we can ensure reliable grid power. Captive power plants are not necessary, and we would therefore have a significant savings in coal, which is required for the captive power plants. So what if we put all this together? What will happen to the clinker? So we would find that the clinker of the future would require less energy, would use a lot of waste material, however, may have slightly more emissions than is done now or we have now. What will happen to cement? We talked about clinker. What happens to cement? So cement is ordinary Portland cement, Portland pozzolana cement, and slag cement in India. In future, we expect LC3 or the limestone calcined clay cement. Here you have the amount of clinker in the cement and the SCM or the supplementary cementitious material which goes in. The part of the clinker as the clinker reduces, we find that the CO2 emissions drop as expected. For LC3, we have some additional CO2 because of the calcination of the clay. But as we decrease the clinker content, things become much better. Energy also decreases. So this is the energy consumed per ton of cement. And we find that as we substitute clinker, the gray part in each of these bars is the clinker. We find that the total energy required comes down. And the part of the clinker that is taking up energy or giving us energy is the fossil fuels. So clearly we find that as you decrease the amount of clinker, as we use supplementary cementitious materials, we are going to have a better material. And again, if we were to speculate on what could happen in the future, I would say that things are going to become better in terms of an average impact of cement. What have we done here? We've tried to think, or we've tried to project what could happen to the amount of cement or the different types of cement made in India. Right now, in 2020, 24% of the cement is OPC, 67% is PPC, 8% is LC3, 8% is PSC or slag cement, and we are yet to see large production of LC3. We are hoping by 2030, OPC would drop to 15%, PPC would almost be the same, PSC would increase because we will continue to have a lot of steel production and we are expecting 8% of LC3 to be produced. In 2050, we hope that we will not need OPC at all. 60% of all the cement will be PPC because we will still have coal, we will still have fly ash, 20% PSC because we will have steel, and LC3 because we have a lot of calcined clay and waste limestone. So this means that overall we can expect that the carbon emissions of cement will come down and the energy will also come down. So therefore,
can you stop in a minute, please?
Yeah, I'll do that. So bringing this together, we have the combined influence, and I will rush through and finish. So this translates to concrete also becoming more sustainable because of lower energy and lower carbon footprint. Suppose we had to make the concrete with recycled aggregates. This would be the picture. Slight increase in carbon footprint, but savings in a lot of material and saving in space for landfill. So to conclude, we can continue to have concrete and cement as sustainable materials. We have to be prudent in how we use alternative fuels, how we use electricity. We have to work on quality and durability, and if we can use water from sewage or alternative sources, that would be very good. Thank you very much. Thanks, Bashir. Sorry, I overstepped. I'll be glad to take questions if there are any.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ravindra. It is nice to see the different pictures coming together, and it is important to look at the holistic aspect of the cement and concrete manufacturing. So that is actually very clear from your presentation. So I think we had a comment from, let me see. Yeah, Wolf from just made a comment. Based on the data you provided, does it mean before cement producers think about energy and the process changes, replacing clinker will always have a significant higher positive environmental effect?
It looks so. It looks so from all the scenarios that we've looked at. the biggest change will be reducing the clinker in the cement. That is certainly going to help in terms of the environmental impact.
Okay, thank you. So another question is, what about organic cement? What's their role in the future?
Well, we do not have any data. We'll have to look at the data and compare. Right now, we are only looking at conventional cements. So I do not have any data to substantiate.
Yeah. What about the use of high volume fly ash in the future? I mean, it has already been used in some projects in India.
Yes. So certainly it is useful. It is useful. The issues are, as is well known, early strength and carbonation could become a problem. So there are known problems with very high volume fly ash. In certain applications, we can use them. I don't see any problems, and we have enough data to go for higher volumes of fly ash.
Another question is the use of composite cement. What do you say about that?
Again, if the clinker content is lower and we consider the overall environmental impact, again, there should not be any reason why we should not use composite cement. In a way, LC3 is a composite cement because we have clinker, we have crushed limestone, and we have calcined clay. So we can think of it also as a type of composite cement.
Okay. Do you think sustainability is linked to resilience of concrete?
Certainly. I think the question we wanted to ask is the cement and concrete of today resilient? How will it face the changes that the market demand and other technologies will impose on us? So okay. I think so. I think sustainability has to be a part of resilience.
Yeah, there was actually a follow-up question on the high volume fly ash concrete. Do you have any comment on the strength and durability of high volume fly ash concrete compared to the normal other types of concretes?
Well, in terms of strength, we are going to lose early strength, but not long-term strength. And durability, we know that the chloride resistance increases a lot with fly ash. We will lose some of the carbonation resistance. We'll have to look at other ways to control that. But again, lot of information, you know very well, Bashir, that Malhotra has worked on it for many, many decades. We have enough information, and certainly high volume fly ash concrete has a place in today's construction.
Yep. The basic need is actually giving the right specification, isn't it? If somebody expects a high early strength, you should specify high volume fly ash concrete. There was actually a comment or a question. If construction is customized according to locally available resources, then will it decrease the demand for imposed construction materials whose carbon footprint is higher?
Yes. Well, I think the construction industry is very efficient that way. You find that the cements of the world are based a lot on local materials. It is other construction materials which we use in lesser quantities for finishes and so on, which are imported. But the basic structural materials are very much based on local raw materials.
Okay. Is calcined clay cement available for researchers in India at the moment?
Yes, yes. We have had a project at IIT Madras and other IITs. Professor Manu Santanam has led this at IIT Madras, and we have had a lot of collaboration with other universities as well. So we've set up a center that is run by an organization called TARA, and they can give LC3 to help researchers work on this.
Okay. Possibly this could be the last question. The use of a geopolymer concrete, is it, how do you see the future of that?
Well, again, I don't have much experience. I find that there could be niche applications. But again, if I would expect Portland cement concrete to go away due to geopolymer concrete, I would say no. I would still bet on Portland cement concrete in a modified manner with more SCMs rather than geopolymer concrete taking over completely.
Yeah, maybe just one follow-up question on the LC3. If LC3 is more durable, why is the production of LC3 not that common in India?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. Cement is a standardized product. So that means we have to convince the standardizing bodies to change. And this means that we have to overcome some lobbies and some hesitations. But I would think that more than LC3 starting off being produced in a large scale, I would think that concrete manufacturers will incorporate limestone and calcined clay to get the benefits that LC3 shows.
Okay, with the interest of time, Ravindra, I'm sorry to stop there, but there is more. There are more questions coming on the chat line, so possibly we'll be able to read them and reply to them in due course.
Yes.
So thank you very much. Very, very interesting talk, and it's reassuring to see that cement and concrete will remain for at least the next 30 years.